Just when you think they've done everything with the zombie movie genre, they pull me back in. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore, and I am a fan of zombie movies. What can I say? From the 1968 original Night of the Living Dead, starring Dwayne Jones, up to today with just so many great zombie movies. I think zombie movies are a great platform to talk about all types of issues. And also, you don't need to talk about any issues. They can just be entertaining. I love that we all know the rules of zombie movies, but I've never quite seen a zombie film like Witness Infection, which is sort of part mafia movie mixed with zombies, spawned from, well, I don't know. We need to find out all the details about this. So let's talk to the director, Andy Palmer, the co-writer and producer, Jill-Michele Milean. Hopefully I got that right, Jill.
Milean. You have to do it like the attitude and you'll get it.
Okay, thank you. So obviously this comes from a love of zombie movies, and I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you, I was telling Andy before we started recording that I made the mistake of eating lunch while I was watching the film. It gets pretty damn gory in some spots. I mean, really gory. And, bravo to that. But what I love about this movie, and here's how I know that you love zombie movies, is there's a reference in the film to the 1968 original Night of the Living Dead, directed by George Romero, and Dwayne Jones gets a shout out. And I love, because that movie, to me, Dwayne Jones makes that movie. So kudos to you for including that. But what made you want to take the sort of like a mafia story that we've maybe seen before, and then mix it up? You kind of did some genre blending with this.
Well, I think originally, Carlos Alazraqui, my co-writer and also producer and fellow brother on camera and off, we met doing the comedy circuit scene together, stand-up comics, and we toured together for 4 years. I played his sister on Reno 911, and we love all of the mafia stuff. We love all the zombies. We're just we're sticklers for going out and going ghost hunting together and doing all this stuff. So we've had this long-term relationship, and Carlos came to me one day and he's like, I'm ready to write a movie with you. And he's like, how about we do something where it's mafia and zombies? And that's exactly what happened. And we called it Mob Zombies, was our working title. And we just dove in, and we have so much fun writing and creating these characters. And then, of course, Andy brought it to life, which I couldn't have asked for a better director.
I mean, you could have, but
yeah.
you wouldn't have been able to afford him.
Yeah, exactly. Lucas wasn't available.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, yeah, Andy, how did you get involved?
Sure. So Carlos and I go way back. I met Carlos doing a web series called Clueless that my friends Renee Dorian and Ben Bagley created, that I produced and directed some episodes. And Carlos came on and did one of the episodes. And then I convinced Carlos a couple years later to come on board my first feature. And I flew him out to my hometown where we shot it and put him up in the worst motel that my hometown, featured. And he was game to do that. So we've always just kind of been working together. He was in my movie, The Funhouse Massacre. So he sent me the script and said, hey, I think we're doing this. We have a couple people in mind, give us your pitch. How would you do it? And so I read the script and I put together a lookbook and said, hey, this is how I would, do the movie. There's a movie called Innocent Blood that it's not a lot of people know about it. It reminded me a lot of Innocent Blood. And so I use that as kind of a reference and stuff like that. That one's a vampire movie, but it's about this female vampire that she bites this mobster, and she usually kills all her victims so that they don't turn, but this guy gets away from her. And so he's this kind of mafioso boss that turns into a vampire. It's kind of her worst nightmare. So so I kind of use that as a little visual springboard. And yeah, so that was how it all came to be, and we just had a great team. They had all the actors. I didn't cast a person in this movie. They had all the people already cast, and I was like, okay. And then
Andy was like, wait, what? Like,
yeah, and I had all the crew, so it was we just kind of melded the two together and headed out to Lake Elsinore.
Well, I wanted to ask about the cast, actually, because many of the cast members are voiceover actors of renown. Tara Strong, among others. Like, can you talk about how you assembled this cast before even Andy came on board? I mean, it was really like remarkable voice talents.
Thank you. Well, that's credit also to Carlos, because Carlos, is every single voice from Rocco to, Cars to, Planes. And I mean, every cartoon you put on, he's somewhere in the cartoon, his voice. Right. And when we wrote the script, we had visually people that we had in mind when we were writing, because that always helps with character work. We're like, we can see this person playing this. But then as we progressed forward and we got to a point where everyone was like, you have a really solid script. And we had Andy, take a look at it. And Andy was excited. Carlos came on board, and him and his wife said, we're going to executive produce this. And that gave us complete, total creative control, which is like an independent filmmaker's like dream, because studio, you're never going to have that. And we were able to really implement those people that we know are so talented that aren't seen usually on camera, but don't have that opportunity, that we were able to put them into our film and knew that they were going to shine. So now all the people that are animation fans can come over and actually see like these voices from behind the camera, like see their faces and see how incredibly talented they are on camera as well. So that's exactly what we did. And a lot of comics are in there too, stand-up comics, because being a stand-up comic, I have tons of friends that are uber talented that have a lot of credits, but they're not like a George Clooney, so you're like, I'm going to grab you and put you in this because I know you're so amazingly talented. And I think it shows in the film that how much fun we had all together. And Andy was there to wrangle us in, because we all get, big together and we're all like, whoa, wacky. And he's like, okay, calm down, kids. Calm down.
There's a lot of like, dad, like, don't make me come back in that room. If I have to come back in that room one more time, we'll stop filming today.
Okay, so good. I noticed that there was a lot of fun being had a lot of interplay between the characters. Was there a fair amount of improv with that too, as well?
Definitely.
I mean, there are some scenes that are pretty much verbatim from what was written on the script, but then you have some scenes in there that totally didn't have any part of the script in, because as trusting the actors, Andy is like amazing. Like, I'm sure Andy would have whipped us if it wasn't good. He's watching through the monitor like, what is that? But it was so much fun to see these actors take it to the next level. And that's another reason why we were pushing, like Andy was like, are you like, who are like, what? And then once he met the other actors, he was like, I get it. I see it. Because we could take what was written and take it to that next level. So there's one scene, Andy, if you want to talk about that, what Carlos did to you.
Well, we have the scene with Joe Reitman and Gary Anthony Williams, which is one of the most fun scenes in the movie. But it was just a situation. It was just a technical situation more than anything, is that I wanted to shoot kind of French overs from the back seat of them in the car going back and forth. And we didn't have, a lighting package that was going to allow us to basically light both sides. So, we lit one side, then we flipped the world and we light the other side. And so for most of all of our comedy stuff, we shoot two cameras, because it's really hard to recreate, especially when you're doing improv, any sort of magic if you're shooting single camera, and then to have like the other, the reverse actor kind of match that energy in a totally different take. So I get in the car, and literally they just showed up on set. They were in costume. I get in the car and I'm like, hey guys, so this is the way we're going to shoot it. We're going to stick to the script in the car just because, I only have a single camera in here. And then when we get out, we'll be on a steady cam, and then you guys can go to town. You can improv however you want to get to the door. And they were like, oh yeah, no, Carlos just told us to just kind of do our thing. So we haven't even read the script, to be honest with you. I was like, cool. And so I was like, well, let's see what happens. And honestly, they were really good once they kind of knew how we were shooting it. They were very good about, even though they were doing the improv, they didn't step on each other's lines. It was actually very easy to edit.
I mentioned earlier that I made the mistake of eating lunch watching this movie. The gore effects are really for some of this. I mean, it's pretty. What was that like to shoot? And it's, at least from what I could tell, it was all practical gore effects.
Yeah. I'm a big, huge fan of practical. I don't see CGI just to enhance things, and if you have no other choice. So like in this movie, the only CGI, we had 2 CGI kind of blood gags, the shotgun blasts from Rose and from Mr. Sorelli were CGI, just because squibbing actors, it takes forever. You need an armorer on set, and we just didn't have the budget or the time. It just slows everything down. But everything else, all the other gags, Jim Ojala came on and he just completely outdid himself. I just would give him this kind of nugget of an idea, and then there's the great scene where Erin has like the pustules like pulsing on her neck and stuff like that, and I was like, is there any way that like they could like do, and Jim's like, oh yeah, air bladder, no problem, I'll just and it was just like boom boom boom, and all of a sudden all these things are just like bubbling on her neck and stuff like that, and it was incredible.
That's the best too. I think like practical is like, that's what I love too, because it takes a team of people to create something to work on camera. So like for that one with the pustules, it was like a whole team of people are pumping. They're all around. There's tubes everywhere. It's, it's such a cool experience on set to make that one scene, really, and you can feel it. Like even watching as an audience through the camera, you can feel the pus.
Yeah,
you can feel it. Yeah.
There's just something about it. It just feels real. And same with the toilet seat gag. Like nobody knew that there was a spinal column under that head. We just thought it was like going to just pop off and then maybe blood shoot out or something like that. And so we were all sitting at the monitor, and when Carlos finally, it took him a long time because it was really attached there to the torso, and when he pulled it out and the whole spinal column comes with it, everybody just freaked out because nobody but Jim's team knew that they were doing that.
Well, so the reaction was real. Totally
real.
That's what's really good about practical effects, is you really don't have to fake any sort of acting response to what's happening on camera. I mean, it's pretty horrifying.
It's twofold, because you're seeing it happen, but from a production standpoint, and especially in a budget like this, you have one chance. It's like you only have one chance to make it happen, because it's like you can't put the head back into the neck after it's ripped off. I mean, you could, but then you're finding angles that can kind of cheat it and stuff like that. So every single gag, it's just like everybody's on pins and needles hoping that it gets captured well, so.
And the voice actors, I don't know that there's just because voice actors aren't known necessarily, by their faces. I just recognize, having known a few voice actors in my time, the amount of work and effort that they put into to emote, like, and to just like, it must have been just a joy to work with all these renowned voice actors. I want to ask with that, and then mixed with comedians. I mean, yourself, Jill, as well. Like, it just must have been chaos on set. So more than anything, I feel for Andy. Like
totally. And we have like a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we'll be posting on all the social media that now we can bring out, and you'll get to see a lot of those antics behind the scenes, because it wasn't really like, most time, like people, because we're on an indie project too, you don't have the luxury of everyone having their own dressing room and everyone goes off. So everyone's compiled like in the kitchen area with all the gore all over them, while the scene's going on, and we're in this big house and we're downstairs, and we have like all these behind the scenes where we're putting on, because Dominic's character, Brett Ernst from Cobra Kai, me and him are from Miami. So we are used to like all that Miami freestyle music. And we threw that on, and everyone's like zombies dancing around and having a party. And then we have like someone come down and go, can you guys like keep it down a little bit? Just so much fun. And then working with like Maurice LaMarche, it was so cool because as he's like doing all his lines, all I can see is the robot from Futurama. Like that's all I see. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. So even I had my little like little star moments where you're like, this is so fun. You know, we had all these incredible talent, you know, like you said, like, and then Erin Hayes is one of the funniest comedic actresses that I've always loved. And her timing is so fast. She's so great. And to be able to work with her and, you know, she had no ego at all. We're all sitting around and she's got all her guts hanging out and she's like texting her husband, you know, and it's like, it was just magical, the set.
Yeah, it was fun. It had a very kids at summer camp vibe to it. And we kept it pretty light because there was a lot of like long cold nights in Temecula. But no, it was good. And it was just, my crew, my DP and my producing partner, Warner, like, and Jenna Capozzi, who was our line producer. It was nice because it's like, we all had a nice shorthand because you had to have it. It was 15 days, tons of gags, tons of locations for a movie this size. And so, yeah, so there was a lightness on set, but it was amazing kind of the level of professionals that we had on a budget this small, you know?
Well, Temecula is a nice area, so I assume you had fun when you were not making the movie, right?
Well, we were just making the movie the whole time.
Yeah.
There's no time for fun.
I did anything other than sleep and make that movie when I was
fun had to be had on set, which it definitely shows. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is the best Mafia Zombie movie of 2021.
Yes, we'll take that.
I think it is.
We got a review the other day that was really funny. It was like, is it Shaun of the Dead? No. But is it better than movie 43? Absolutely. And I was like, okay, so we're in between the best zombie comedy movie and the worst film ever made. So that's great. We're just evidently dead center in between the worst movie ever created and the best zombie movie and best zombie comedy. So thumbs high to us. All right.
There you go. Andy and Jill, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us on the Film Threat podcast. It's an absolute pleasure.
That was a pleasure. Thanks for watching it. You guys are amazing.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.